Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Bard, keep bringing you episode 204 here at the Tavern, where tonight we're going to talk about Bandai's breakup with Saban and Saban's new hookup with Hasbro. Yes, we actually have some topical news to talk about here at the Tavern tonight. Long and short of it, after 25 years of making Power Ranger toys, Bandai is going to call it quits, and beginning in 2019, Hasbro is going to start making Power Ranger toys. And frankly, folks, I don't know how to feel about this. There are a lot of angles to cover and a lot of things people are going to go ahead and talk about. I'm going to try and keep my thoughts on this brief because, believe it or not, I don't know much about the world of toy manufacturers. Outside of Bandai, who I've followed closely for years and years and years, as you guys know, I really don't know what else is out there. Yeah, I've bought some of the retro Ninja Turtle toys from Playmates, and when I was younger, I did get some Kenner Star Wars toys during the time of the re-release. And the last time I even bought a Hasbro toy was when Beast Wars was still on the air. So, really, these companies really mean nothing to me in that I don't buy from them. I don't know what they produce. It has pretty much been Bandai for the last 25 years for me. And exclusively as an adult, I have been buying Power Ranger toys directly from Bandai of America and of Japan. So my knowledge is going to be kind of limited on what I actually know of these toy companies as far as how good their products are. So it's probably going to limit me in some of my criticism and analysis here, but I need to put that up front for you guys that, outside Bandai, there isn't much that I know. Let me go ahead and start with a couple of things. First of all, Bandai is still doing Super Sentai toys. So over in Japan, they're still going to be continuing that. Nothing seems to be changing. Why Saban chose to leave Bandai and vice versa, we don't actually know at this point. What's being reported is that it was mutual, that it was a mutual breakup, but I can't for the life of me understand why that would be. I would imagine low toy sales would be an issue for that, but frankly, they've stuck it out for 25 years. It makes you kind of wonder why, after that long of a period, what has significantly changed that would make them go in this direction. Nothing has been offered at this point. It is all speculation, and I honestly don't have much to speculate with. The only thing I can really think of is maybe there are too many complaints of the quality of the toys, because frankly, Bandai in the last couple of years has had two types of toys out there. They've had the regular toy line that everybody's buying, and the legacy line, aka the good line. And here's the thing, I'm not buying anything that's not the legacy line, when I have the money, of course. Because the legacy line, to me, is the standard. That is what Power Ranger toys should be. That the legacy line should be what they normally make, die-cast parts, high quality, the legacy figures, legacy Megazords, the weapons, all that kind of stuff. That should be the standard. But frankly, everything they've been doing with the standard line of toys has pretty much sucked. I mean, go to Toys R Us, one that's still open, and look at the different types of toys. Look at the quality and difference that you have, because it's just amazing to me that I walked into my local Toys R Us not long ago, and they're still selling the black and gold Titanus right next to whatever the new Ninja Steel Megazords are called. I haven't seen a single episode yet, and I don't know any of the names. I'm such a bad fan. But it's like night and day. It's like they're two completely different manufacturers in a lot of ways. One is high quality, die cast, painted, beautiful, and the other one is really cheap plastic that barely resembles what's actually on the show. And to me, that's how I do qualify how I look at the quality of the toys. I like one for one translations. Basically take the model from the show, shrink it down, and sell it as a toy. That's the way I look at it. Any changes that are made, whether they be cosmetic, but stickers or paint, sometimes I can live with that. Sometimes I can't. When they change the molds and make them inferior. Again, look at the Drive Max Megazord that Operation Overdrive came out with compared to the Daiboken, and you get an idea of what I'm talking about here. Um, it just seems that the quality of the standard line is just not as good as it used to be. I mean, you can go back, I would say, in my mind, the quality of the toys probably started dropping after Wild Force, which is kind of odd because that's when Disney really when Disney took over things, and maybe that's the point because I was in high school at the time and I wasn't collecting as much at that time, but there just seems to be a significant drop off in what Bandai of America was producing at that time. And to me, what my boiling point was is what happened in Operation Overdrive. Again, just look at the entire Operation Overdrive line. That's got to be one of the worst toy lines that they have ever made, from figures to Zords and whatever. But that's really getting off topic right here. Yeah, I mean, the first 10 years were great, and everything after that, I mean, there's a reason I switched to buying everything from Bandai of Japan and haven't really bothered with anything in the American line until they started coming out the Legacy line. Now, they'll tell you that they are gearing towards adults in the Legacy line, but no reason you can't have kids, like that stuff too. I mean, those Legacy figures are awesome, and I guarantee you kids would like them. They're good toys. That's the thing. Gold Ranger paint notwithstanding. But again, I have no idea why they're breaking up. I have no idea what the cause is. Low toy sales is the only thing I can even offer to speculate this time. But then we go into Hasbro, and I really don't know anything, again, about Hasbro. Believe it or not, I didn't collect Transformers when I was a kid. That was a couple years beyond me at that point. I saw the G1 reruns, and I never really had any of the toys. I don't even think I might have had Slag. I may have had Dinobot. That is probably all I had. And of course, my brother and I, when Beast Wars came out in '96, we started collecting those toys, and that was fun. He got the Predacons, I got the Maximals, and it was pretty fun. And I enjoyed those toys. I thought Hasbro was making some good toys then. My opinion of Hasbro nowadays is, one, they make some pretty bad movies. I mean, again, Transformers, Battleship, and all that. And I don't know anything else. I've never bought a Transformer toy that's come out recently. I've seen like the Legacy or the Heroes collections or whatever they call them for the Beast Wars stuff, and I think that's pretty cool. I do know in Japan they've been re-releasing the old G1 Transformers. The what do they call them? Whatever they originally call them over there, they re-release those and diecast. But I think those are being released by Bandai and not Hasbro. I can't be 100% sure on it. Again, I don't know anything about Hasbro, so this whole situation to me is trading in the devil we know for the devil we don't. Now, the press releases do kind of assure us that they are going to be looking at the adult collectors, that they realize that there is a market value in that. It's also stated that they will be producing toys for the current seasons, previous seasons, and all future incarnations. So that means everything from Mighty Morphin on up is going to be covered. Now, I don't know what that means for a couple of things. Like, again, we have the Legacy line right now with Bandai. They're releasing the mini helmets. They are going to release the Green Ranger helmet. They got more weapons coming along the line. They got more figures, like the Psycho Rangers. That's still supposed to be coming in production. But again, they got till 2019 to pretty much finish this up. Now the question becomes, does Hasbro take over the Legacy line? They have all the molds and they're making them directly, or are they going to offer us something new? And and then, of course, there's the issue of like the backlog of Power Ranger toys. I mean, are they going to have the same access to, again, the molds and everything that they had, or are they going to make something completely different? I don't know. There's no information on that at this point. And again, this doesn't happen until 2019. So basically, Bandai is going to finish out this season, and I would suspect the beginning of next season, again, because they're going to take I think it's like middle 2019. I'm not sure, but at least for the rest of this year, they're going to get through Ninja Super Steels, Super Ninja Steel, whatever. They're going to get through that season, and there is no indication what the next Sentai to be adapted is going to be. So I think what's interesting here is a lot of people, and you can look at this up. A lot of people are speculating, or were speculating now, that the reason that Q Ranger was going to be adapted, or they thought heavily Q Ranger was going to be adapted, is because Bandai of America had a say in the development of the toys. They pitched some ideas to them. What ideas were pitched and were stuck, I don't exactly know. But people were saying because Bandai of America had involvement in the creation of those toys, then it would be logical for them to bring it over to America because they can implement some of those ideas that they developed over here. Which is, I mean, that's a reasonable theory. I can go ahead and think about that. But ultimately, it doesn't come down to the toy company making those decisions. Yes, I know what we said previously about what happened with Dino Charge, but still, from a producer creative standpoint, dinosaurs sold more than whatever his Go Busters was going to be. So there are a number of facets to look into this, but I never really kind of bought that just because Bandai of America made some suggestions to the Japanese toy company means they're going to go ahead and bring it on over just because of the toy aspect. Now, the good thing about this is that this might actually mean the series is going to change in some significant way. Now, what do I mean by that? Recall back to Wild Force when they attempted to make Forever Red a two-parter, and they couldn't get the money from Disney to do that. So basically, Bandai stepped in and said, "We'll pay the money, but you have to advertise this toy." Now, that's kind of an example, albeit a unique one, where Bandai will step in, put money just to go ahead and promote a toy. And while I can't say it with 100% certainty, there are probably a number of moments in the Neo Saban era that I can point to in which, yes, they did this just to go ahead and sell a toy. Specifically, I think the super aspect of it, the fact that when they go into the cockpit, they have a different suit altogether that they are wearing, the weapons that they wear in the cockpit, and so forth and so forth. I would imagine that those are instances in which Bandai is footing the bill or making suggestions to put the toys in the show when narratively they really don't make any sense. Okay? Um, I mean, it really has been a relationship, and again, nothing confirmed, but it seems to have been a relationship where the toy company is dictating what's supposed to be in the show, and the writers have to write around it. Now, similar stuff happened on Beast Wars, as we're making this full circle, of course, but at least Beast Wars was able to actually craft it into the story, to the narrative, make interesting characters out of it, which is something Power Rangers, frankly, has not been able to do. And that, of course, has more to do with that they're not really making human characters as much as they are making robots, and it's really hard to give robots personality when they're not even supposed to be sentient in the series. But again, that's neither here nor there. What I'm hoping will happen is that because they have a new contract with Hasbro, the Hasbro's not calling the shots. Because it seems that Bandai had been calling the shots for a while as to what's going to be in the show, what toys, blah, 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 and stuff like that. With them out of the picture, I doubt that Saban would negotiate a contract with a new toy company that says, yes, you're going to make our toys, and by the way, you get to tell us what's going to be in the show. Because that's ridiculous. I mean, I just think that's the dumbest thing ever, whether it has happened or not. I think it's stupid for a creative force to be told, you must put this stuff into the show. It's different between having an existing franchise that's adapted from a book or a TV series or a movie or anything, and having to put certain elements in there, as opposed to, again, what's going on here where Toy Camp said, well, we made this toy, so why don't you go ahead and put it in the show? And sometimes it's harmless when they get motorcycles in, particularly motorcycles. That's pretty much been the main thing in the Saban era, at least, original Saban era. But it just seems to me that it is becoming too much. That I would say Megaforce is probably guilty of this in a lot of ways, but also that had to do with a lot of the footage and the condensed nature of it as well. But it does seem that they always want to try and sell these different toys to you, as opposed to, again, being part of the actual narrative of the series. So what I'm hoping is Saban did not acquiesce to the demands of Hasbro in that regard. That what will happen is we'll see a sea change in the series once they get to that next adaptation coming in. Whether it's Zuozer, whether it's going to go ahead and be Q Ranger, or heck, they might skip both of them, go to Pato versus Lupin Ranger. Who knows? The point being is that I think we'll see soon enough by 2019 when that comes around what kind of change there may be into the series. If if it keeps the course of what's been happening in the Saban era, then we'll probably have an indication of what the negotiation with Hasbro was, that they're just going to call the shots with the toys. So again, trading out those devils. But what I'm really hoping to see is that they say, yeah, we're going to do our own stories and you make the toys later. You watch it and say, oh, that would make an interesting toy. That would make an interesting toy. Because again, what's interesting about it is they're not going to have any input from Bandai Japan. They're not going to have these molds available for them to change and do whatever and stuff like that. It seems to me that the natural thing would be to look at what's being made and then make your own stuff organically from that. I think it was Mr. Plinkett that had pointed out that the original Star Wars trilogy, that all the toys made from that were a natural byproduct of actually watching the movies. That you watch the movie, there's Luke Skywalker, let's make a Luke Skywalker toy. There's an X-Wing, let's make an X-Wing toy. Death Star, make a Death Star toy. That's what happened. But then he would point out that when you got the prequel trilogy, that, as he would say, it's all crap. And that's my best Plinkett impression. That basically it is inserting things in there for toy sales and all that. And how much of that actually happened with the prequel trilogy, I don't know. But I would say that there has been a sea change from basically what were the original toys in the original trilogy, even in the 97 re-release, compared to the toys in the prequel trilogy and the toys now. Because does it make sense we have like 6 different variations of a single Obi-Wan toy from a single movie? I mean, I think there was a complaint that came out with Revenge of the Sith, or one of the other films. I can't recall which. And Kenner does Star Wars still, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, whatever happened to Galoob? Just a brief question. Anybody know what happened to Galoob? That crossed my mind while I was thinking about different toy companies. Um, So yeah, I want the toys to be a natural byproduct of the show. That if they introduce a new weapon or Zord, that it comes natural for whatever particular reason, as opposed to, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. Yeah, and I know what you guys are going to go ahead and say, that Power Rangers is and always has been a toy commercial, which I would disagree with, not because it's cynical the way to think about that, but even think about the origins. If we go all the way back to when Go Ranger started, was Go Ranger a toy commercial? Hell no, it wasn't. Look at the toys they produced for that show, which was very few and far between, and the show was actually built on story and characters. They limited what they had. I mean, somebody find me some of the original toys, and besides the actual figures and the jet that they had, where is all that extenuous crap that we have now with Power Rangers? You don't have that. Granted, that was 40 some years ago and the toys are a little bit different, but I would argue that Sentai began that way and evolved to what it's become today. And for good or ill, that's what we have. But I will at least say the toys in Japan have been much better than the toys here in America, excluding, of course, Legacy line, which really the Legacy line is pretty much the standard in which they have in Japan. Go figure. And I'm trying not to get into too much of a rant on this because there isn't really that much to say other than what I've always said: Bandai America, Bandai Japan. But here's what I'm hoping going forward. I hope that Power Rangers will be able to focus on story, that they're not dictated by the toy company, and that everything becomes a natural byproduct, and that Power Rangers will eventually shed the what's the right word I'm looking for? Basically, shed the stigma that's been attached to it, where people assume it is a toy commercial, or as Bob Chipman, who I deeply respect, but I believe he's absolutely wrong on this point. He described it as Sesame Street with punching, which it's not. I've never seen that show. I don't know what Bob's talking about, even though I respect the man. But I just want to see a change in the series, because I really think that if you are given the opportunity to make better television, kids are still going to buy the toys. They're still going to watch the darn show. And, and also it was announced a couple of days ago that they have extended their agreement till 2021 with Nickelodeon, which I think is a bad idea. I think we need to experiment with another platform, whether it's, hey, it might be the Hub after 2021, now that I think about it. Because of course the Hub is, Hasbro's network. If it's still around, it should still be around. And of course, you know me, I'm an advocate for sending the show to Netflix, but ultimately, I just want to see. I want to see what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse. I hope it's better, but only if they do it in the focus that I said, that they reverse the paradigm, that they focus on the stories and character first and worry about the toys secondary. Because I think if we can do that, if we can get Hasbro in line and we get Hasbro to agree, and again, it doesn't make any sense. Saban would put into their contract with Hasbro saying, you get to tell us what's in the show and blah 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 and stuff like that. If anything, this is Saban doing a favor for Hasbro, because they basically handed Hasbro a new multi-million-dollar franchise for them to make toys out of. I mean, that's simply what they've done. Okay. And I just don't see them letting Hasbro call the shots on anything at this point. But whatever happens, I'm just curious to see what that is. I hope we're going to get some good toys out of it. I hope we get to continue with a lot of the legacy line things. And I hope the standard will be of quality products. Whether or not Hasbro does that with their Transformers line or any other franchise they have, please let me know, guys. But yeah, and what do you think about it? Good, bad, indifferent? Just want to go ahead and see what happens. A lot of different opinions out there, and we'll see what happens. Again, I'm hopeful as always. You guys know that. I'm always hoping that this franchise will transcend what people think of it to become something even better. And maybe this is a sign that's going in the right direction, that something good's going to come out of this. All right, well, that's all I have for you guys this evening. So, again, leave your comments below and let me know. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for listening. Have a good evening. And the tavern is now closed.